Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with you at another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway on this, what are we, the ninth day of March, Thursday. The Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, like I said. Don't forget, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore. Andy Moore Honda. Make sure you go to Andy Moore Honda, AndyMooreHonda.com to get more to your door. And the great family of restaurants in and around Bloomington. Great places like BB's Market, Southern Stone Feast, and Hank's Pizza Mac. Former Wagon Wheel Pizza, or Swing In Pizza, rather. Man, they've got all kinds of these Mac bowls. They're incredible. Ooh, let's see. Polynesian Mac, loaded potato Mac, Southwest Mac, blazing buffalo, Memphis Mac. What's up, Dustin Schutte?
We are underway with the Big Ten tournament. Fired up.
Yes.
Upsets
Yes.
last night. 2 upsets. How
Yes,
about that?
Can you call them upsets?
Yeah, you can. Well, okay, the Ohio State beating Wisconsin, not really an upset, but Minnesota beating Nebraska was.
That definitely, I'll give you that, because Nebraska had looked good. They had won, they'd won 3 or 4 games in a row.
They won 5 of 6 and 6 of their last 8. They had the best record in February in the Big Ten.
And for Indiana fans, that's who you wanted to see win, just because I'm thinking that's who you probably want to see go up against Maryland for an opportunity to knock them off, as opposed to Minnesota, which now will probably not be quite as good a shot. But how's everybody doing on the Andy Moore Honda hotline? They're lighting that thing up. Appreciate you guys. David, he's ready for some Who's Your Tournament action. Kevin, of course, always on. Jamie from Grand Rapids, Michigan, man. They're all over the place. Southern Brown County, like that. Getting specific. Land O'Lakes, Florida. Lee. Of course, the Fred, Mr. Traveler, he's back to the Eastern Assassins, back to Pennsylvania. Fulzon, he's still in Amman, Jordan. That shouldn't surprise you. Hope everyone's having a good start to their day. Carl as well. Yep. Robert, the Huskers and the Beavers are done. They are out the door. Philip, yep, that's what we're going to be talking about. Hey, Cheryl Sizemore. There you go. Make sure if you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, that's exactly who you turn to. You find her reach out to her. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Jim Boeheim. Everyone's acting so shocked, which I understand, because he seems a little shocked. It's hard to understand what the hell's going on with this. I thought he was retiring, but then he's acting like he didn't have anything to do with it, that he didn't want to retire. His comments were weird. It's up to, are you retired? Well, it's up to the school, yada, yada. Our friend Mike DeCourcy put out a quick, nice piece, that this was a great opportunity for him to hand off the torch to the next guy who's a former player of his, but didn't happen that way. So many times, some things go well and some things don't. But sometimes even when they go well, like North Carolina, they don't go well.
Right.
But this stuff, you get over. Everyone's acting like he's acting like an old curmudgeon. He is an old curmudgeon. Gee whiz. Do you not know who Jim Boeheim is?
Curmudgeon.
Come on. That's what I said, curmudgeon.
Now, here's the thing, though. I think you're probably going to disagree with this based on what you just said. I think Jim Boeheim's a jackass. I've never liked him. And his job is to win basketball games, not to coddle the media or be attentive to the media or whatever. That's not his job.
I don't disagree with you at all. He has been a jackass on
Yes.
way too many occasions.
And so I have never liked him. Now, that doesn't take anything away from what he did as a basketball coach or what his team's accomplished or the longevity of his career. But it was very fitting to me for him to go out the way he did, where it was, well, that's for Syracuse to decide. Oh, well, I didn't say that I wanted to come back. And just this waffling back and forth. So but it is one of the last of an era, right? Like he's one of the last. Tom Izzo and maybe Leonard Hamilton are probably the last two of that era to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, but you can't. I don't count Leonard Hamilton. He hasn't won enough for me.
I'm just talking about longevity.
Longevity is one thing. Tom Izzo was one of the last winners.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. What did I just see? Mark Adams out at Texas Tech. Man, you want to talk about going from the highest of highs to lowest of lows? A year ago, he was the darling. He was the greatest thing since toast, man.
Yeah.
But made an ignorant statement. I'm just an ignorant. Sometimes I just don't understand how people can be so ignorant today. In the case of what he said, dude, I'm like, what in the hell is wrong with you? It's like doing what we do, what I do. You have to be so careful with the spoken word,
right?
And there's nobody that I know that's looser with the spoken word than I am.
Right.
So when you're behind this thing, you have to think quick, and it's just now ironic that Ole Miss is about Chris Beard because they could have Chris Beard back. Now, I don't think Texas Tech would take Chris Beard back personally because he jilted them, and he's got baggage number 2.
Well, I mean, it is the least surprising thing that an SEC school, in particular Ole Miss, would be after Chris Beard. It is the least surprising thing I think I've ever heard. Outside of maybe Auburn hiring Hugh Freeze.
Bob Huggins, that's right. He is the
great.
Bob Huggins is the current all-time leader in wins right now, active.
Yep.
He is the all-time. Do you know he has more wins than Bob Knight?
I saw that statistic on ESPN yesterday when they were playing.
Do you know who has one more win than Bob Knight? Roy Williams.
Oh, does he really?
So I did not realize that. I didn't remember that. So I'm like, oh, okay. There was let me get to this mark, and then I'm going to step down. A definite there. So there's that. But yeah, Boeheim's out, and Syracuse is done. We have that. We've got that going for us, which is nice. But more importantly, the Big Ten tournament is underway, or all the tournaments are underway. It's Action Jackson. Tomorrow I will be coming to you from Chicago. I had planned on not being there until later, but I'm going to have to go up early. So as a matter of fact, I will be leaving as soon as the show's over today. And I will probably be at the games tonight, as a matter of fact.
There you go.
catching those two. So, and then the action gets started today. You've got the first.
Wait, here's it. I mean, you're going up to Chicago. Are you getting pizza when you're up there?
No,
No, not a deep dish fan.
no,
Oh, okay.
no.
All right. Well, what are you going to, do you have a preference of when you're in Chicago where you eat or what you eat?
Well, first of all, by the time the last game is played,
All that's going to be open is dive bars.
all that's going to be left is probably what's left in the media room, left over.
That's true. Yeah.
Whatever's in there. They don't start the last game until approximately 9 or 9:30, which means it gets over at approximately 11:30. Then you figure you got another hour of work, hour and a half of work. That's 1 a.m.
Right.
I'm ready for bed, man.
True. Well, you'll be on Central. Well, I mean, your body won't be adjusted, but it will be Central Time, so that's one positive.
And then you get up the next day. Now Saturday won't be as bad as Friday. Friday is a full slate of games again.
Right. Thursday and Friday are the grinders for the media.
Yeah. And Saturday it eases up because then you're cut back to just 2 games, which is nice. So Saturday's when you can enjoy. Well, no, I'm sure they have a late game to get that TV audience.
Oh, well, isn't it usually like 12:30 or 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock?
Man,
they're not terribly late.
We'll have to pull up.
The schedule. I don't know what the exact time is, but
Jordan's a deep dish fan, though.
There we go. Look, I've got to take some sort of antacid if I'm eating deep dish. I don't love it, but if I'm in Chicago, I'll eat it.
Yeah, that is. I think that Indiana would have liked to have seen.
Well, we talked about this, right? Like,
yeah.
If Indiana was in the Thursday slot, you would prefer to play Minnesota, right? You would have loved that outcome. But because Indiana got the double bye, and that would, if Nebraska could have pulled off the upset against Maryland, which they had done last month, then you're talking about playing a team that's on their third game in 3 days versus a team that's well rested playing their first game. So that's what Indiana wanted to see. I'm guessing you're going to get Maryland now. But what I would say is that the other benefit of that is if I'm Mike Woodson, I mean, they've seen Maryland already. They know what they're going to get. But now you can start probably scouting for Maryland. I wouldn't put much stock into Minnesota.
Chicago hot dogs, and now we're talking.
Oh, see, I'm not a fan of the Chicago hot dog.
Man. Oh, yeah. Mustard. Oh, yeah, baby.
Nope.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, boy. Let's see. And we got daylight savings time starting this weekend. That's right, girl.
This is how they trick us. Every year, I know it's going away, but every year they sneak it into Selection Sunday, so we pretend not to care.
Yeah, I don't know but it's funny how the businesses that are open on those nights absolutely observe daylight savings time on those nights.
Right.
Get that extra hour. Speaking of extra, we've got more coming to you here on this Thursday. Dustin Schutte with us already. Matt Taylor from the Colts expected to be with us. Tyler Staley from thehoosier.com. And our friend Chris Denari from the Pacers. And we've got you covered on Big Ten tournament. We'll hear from Mike Woodson. We're going to hear from we're going to hear from Jim Boeheim. John, I should have had you play that clip while we were talking about it earlier. Lots more Indiana Sports Beat Radio brought to you by our good friends from Hank's Pizza Mac, located right down on North College Avenue in Bloomington. You can easily find the phone number for deliveries, 812-330-0000. That's it. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's
People, Doug and Becky Bradley love the spring forward. God, I hate it.
I love it.
I've been saying this for the past few months, and I think I'm a dumbass. Is this the last year that?
No, it's not.
We
It's not been decided. No, it's not been decided on. I thought so too.
Okay, at least I'm not the only one who thought that was a thing.
So it's not. I thought it was.
It must have been a bill that came up and never got fully passed or something.
Well, I feel like I don't.
Hey,
I mean, I don't.
Two things: NCAA pool. Don't forget that.
What about it?
That's one thing.
We got to talk about it.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Are we doing a pool? Is that what we're doing? Chicago hot dog. People that are watching this on YouTube, what are the other Chicago restaurants you got to hit up when you're there?
I went once and somebody told me to hit up and it was too late when they told me. It's one of I don't know if it's Anthony Bourdain's restaurants or whatever, but it's like a cheeseburger place, but it's like underground and you have to call it like when you go in and you say the phrase, it's not even really a phrase, it's just something you say.
So it's
you
like
say
a
cheeseburger. And then you get like a free something. I could be wrong about how that actually works, but it's something along those lines.
Okay. I've never heard of this. There's a place out in Wrigleyville where I've had it was the best burger I've ever had in my life. I can't remember. What it started with a Z, I think. I can't remember what it was called, but they had a buffalo sauce burger with my god.
Speaking of Z, if you're going to be in Louisville, Dustin, what do you got, Jim?
You say the place you're talking about sounds like something you get out of the Happy Meal at McDonald's.
True.
Where did we eat when we went to Chicago?
Rosebud on Taylor. Okay. Why not put much stock into Minnesota? I would say because you should have the talent to beat Minnesota, especially if they're on day 3. You shouldn't have to game plan. Just worry about yourself. Don't turn the ball over. Get good shot selection. Feed Trace Jackson Davis. And I think you're good. I think Maryland has infinitely more weapons. Has Culver's.
5 Left Center recommended a fish place that unfortunately I couldn't get around to because it was too far away from where we were staying. But I do remember that because I love good seafood.
We got Lowry's for prime rib. Green door, red neon sign. Yeah, good stuff. Chicago has the best food in America. 5 left. All right, I'm going to disagree with you on that. Charleston, South Carolina, baby. Mitchell Page country.
That's right. All right, here we go.
Dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
It's Thursday of conference tournament week. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the confines of Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, located at Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington. It is one of the finest places to eat. Southern comfort, Southern flair in the food. Oh, I had the salmon there last night, as a matter of fact, and it was delicious. Oh, here we go. Okay, bro, chiming in. Mr. Deep Dish.
Kevin loves pizza.
Mr. New York. Mr. New York. He's got his New York pizza. What do you mean finally I return? What are you talking about? You need send him the link. That's what you should do.
There you go.
Speaking of like, what's up, Matthew Taylor?
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, like a dream, baby.
That's right. What's going on?
You know what? Great times last week. How was the 50th annual combine in your life?
I think that was number 15 for me, and it gets bigger and broader every year, like we talked about, and so that's always like the benchmark, like the catalyst jumping off week of the NFL offseason, right? I mean, once you get to the combine, you know that it's full board draft season. NFL free agency is right around the corner. That starts next week, believe it or not. Monday at noon is the start of the legal tampering period. And then, which sounds stupid, I understand. I always second guess myself every time that comes out of my mouth, but that's indeed what it is. Teams can start negotiating with unrestricted free agents all over the NFL at that point. And then deals can start to become official at 4:00 on Wednesday. And so it's going to be a wild week, and we'll see how active and how big of a participant the Colts are that first week. But if I have to guess, they're probably going to be more of a second or a third week big player, if you will. But every year this time of year, we watch basketball. We got the multiple screens going, watching the NCAA tournament, but then one eye is always on the waiver wire, if you will, on what's going on around the NFL. So it kind of unfortunately overshadows, or at least participates on equal footing with a lot of other sports, even in the offseason. That's how big the NFL is, as you guys know.
All right, I got a two-part question based on what you just said. Number one, is it legitimately called the legal tampering period?
It is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
So,
I learned something today.
I did too. That's funny.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No. That's all I got. I mean, it sounds oxymoron. It is, but I don't know if they have a better name for it, but that's what it is widely referred to as. That period of time between Monday at noon and then Wednesday at 4:00, legal tampering.
And so to build on that, and maybe you can't talk a lot about this, but just in the series of hypothetical, does it hurt anything for the Colts to reach out to a one quarterback from the Baltimore Ravens that is non-exclusively franchise tagged?
That's certainly it's a tricky situation. I've read where it's been reported that if Lamar Jackson does indeed sign an offer sheet and then the Ravens do not match that offer sheet, that Lamar Jackson would be the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to get the non-exclusive franchise player tag and not re-sign with the team that tagged him.
Oh,
so on one hand, you're shocked that, hey, this guy's an MVP not that long ago, right? 2019 NFL MVP. And Daniel Jones just got paid, right? He had a losing record for his first 3 years. Then all of a sudden he gets paid, like one of the best quarterbacks in the game for having one good year. And then here's this guy that's put together a really good career, taking his team to the playoffs a couple of times, won an MVP, dynamic quarterback, has a lot of traits that a lot of teams look for in terms of quarterback play, right? He's accurate, he's mobile, he's dynamic, he's athletic. Why is he not getting any sniffs? And some people are pointing to, hey, we just don't want this Deshaun Watson thing, the contract that he got that was otherworldly, to become the norm. So we have to, make sure that what the Browns did still remains an outlier and still is very much the exception, not the rule, even though quarterback contracts continue to climb and get more lucrative year by year. That's the nature of the business. But I don't know. I mean, we all saw last year what happened with Deshaun Watson and, teams pursuing him and ruffling the feathers of their quarterbacks on the roster. I mean, we saw that last year with the Colts and Matt Ryan when he was a Falcon. That relationship got really kind of awkward and it deteriorated really fast. So our team's more, more controlled and more cognizant of that. I don't know. I don't have the answer to it, but yes, it is very unprecedented with to have a quarterback of this status and be this accomplished and seemingly not getting any sniffs around the NFL. And teams are coming out too. Teams are coming out. You know, I don't know how it works, but you've got general managers and executives going to their preferred media outlets or their preferred reporters and basically willingly giving up the information that we're not interested or we're not gonna bid or we're not involved in that game. So it's very, very interesting. There's no doubt about that.
Is it also a way for the Ravens to see exactly what they can get away with from a financial standpoint?
Well, from their standpoint, it's okay if you want guaranteed contract and you want to be in the neighborhood of Deshaun Watson. You know, we're not comfortable with that, but you know, let's go see what you can get. Let's go see what the rest of the NFL tells you. And again, I don't know what's going on, but it's very, very weird that again, he's not even getting phone calls reportedly. He's not setting up, you know, interviews or visits with other teams.
I think somebody comes in late.
I just think teams in a salary cap era, I know the quarterback is going to have to command a large piece of that pie. That's inevitable, right? That's the nature of the business, like I said. But I'm telling you that this Deshaun Watson deal last year is just otherworldly.
Right, and it's ridiculous. But what about you as trying to get, because the Colts are in a position where they're trying to either potentially trade up to get a quarterback or stay where they are in the first round to get whatever. That guy's going to cost X amount. But what has more value? A guy that you're going to have to. He's not going to be the guy for the first year, maybe two, or get a guy that is the guy right now.
Well, I think it's case by case. I think it's team by team. And if you look at the case of the Colts, again, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, when you go 4-12-1, long story short is I think the offense contributed to that. I think the defense contributed to that. So no longer do I think you can say the Colts are just a quarterback away. And when you bring in a quarterback, or if you do bring in a quarterback like Lamar Jackson,
yeah,
he's going to command. I mean, no matter what his deal is, I don't think he's going to get he's going to be in the Deshaun Watson neighborhood, but certainly he's going to be, you know, a guy that's on a second contract and is going to get paid like a former MVP and deservedly so. But you know, the Colts are not a team right now that is just flush in cap space like they have been in the past. Now they might be able to make some moves to free up some more cap space, if you will. But I think a lot of teams look at what's going on in the draft right now. You know, those teams in the top 10, like the Colts or the Panthers, the Texans, and you know, the Raiders perhaps. But I think a lot of teams look at this and say there's a lot of attractiveness to a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, which frees you up to do a lot of other things financially. And bringing in Lamar Jackson, he's a proven guy, right? There's something to be said for a guy that's proven it on Sunday and not Saturday, right? You're not guessing. This is not an estimation of how good Lamar Jackson is. You know how good he is because he's played in this league and he's shined, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the game. But with that comes the financials, and that kind of hamstrings you a little bit financially and roster mechanic wise on what you can do when you have to pay your quarterback like the way he wants to be paid.
Well, and I think too, you go back, and I don't know, I don't want to compare anybody to Peyton Manning, but he comes into the league and he led the league in interceptions. He still owns the rookie record for that. So like, just because a guy may not be quote unquote day one ready doesn't mean he can't be the future of the franchise. So I still think that they would, the best option is probably to go with a quarterback in the draft unless something comes up. But I just, from the perspective of reaching out, I don't know that it hurts anything. That's where my curiosity came from.
Well, and And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what I failed to mention, I'm sorry, this is probably on me, but what I failed to mention in all of this with Lamar Jackson's situation is if you do sign him to an offer sheet or give him an offer sheet and he comes to your club, that club's going to have to give up 2 first-round draft picks to the Ravens. Like, that's part of this, right? And I think that's what – I mean, that's a lot. You're going to have to give up 2 starters, future starters, plus you're going to have to pay them. So that's a lot when you factor in, hey, if I'm in the top 10, I keep my draft picks. I draft a guy that I think can maybe turn into a Lamar Jackson or a Joe Burrow or a Josh Allen, what have you. And I'm able to play with that guy, develop him for the next 4 years, maybe 5, on a rookie contract. And I'm able to have this window of opportunity where I don't have to pay my quarterback 25% of the salary cap.
Right. Going back to the NFL Combine, Matt, were there any players or any specific position groups, anybody that you talked to or heard anything from that really stood out to you from those couple days at Lucas Oil Stadium?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the quarterbacks, obviously, it's really beauty is in the eye of the beholder on these QBs. I mean, you talk to we had interviews and podcasts with maybe 20 plus draft analysts or former executives and things like that, and some would say, yeah, Anthony Richardson's this guy that he's got a lot of upside and he's a lottery ticket, and if he goes to the right scheme and the right team, he might be able to develop and really improve upon his accuracy from last year. Then there's other people who are saying, Anthony Richardson, man, he's a wild card. I just don't see it. I mean, his production, his accuracy in college has never translated to the NFL historically. Same thing with Bryce Young. The size and the stature doesn't bother me. He was able to be durable in college. And then other people say, well, this is the NFL, 17 games, man. You got, real men barreling down on you, and you're going to be taking a beating, and you're not going to be able to play like that at the next level. So it's really fascinating to see, how big these red flags are with these particular quarterbacks, because you don't have that perfect prospect in this draft class, right? There's no Andrew Luck or a Trevor Lawrence in this group. So that was really fascinating. But outside of that, I mean, I think you have the wide receiver class again, pretty deep, maybe not as deep as other drafts in the recent past. Maybe you don't have the home run guy like a Jamar Chase or a Jefferson, but obviously guys that are going to be able to come in and contribute and turn into starters either next year or the year after that, maybe be a couple number ones wide receiver wise in this draft class. But I think offensively what you're hearing is that maybe the deepest part of the draft position wise is tight end. And that might be interesting to the Colts, because no matter how deep the tight end class is, that's typically a position that you don't see a run on until day 2, late day 2, like round 3 or early day 3, rounds 4, round 5. So I think you can get some really good positional value at the tight end spot, and we'll see what the Colts do. They're bringing back Jelani Woods. They're bringing back Andrew Ogletree, who didn't play at all last year. He tore his ACL early on in training camp, and he was a guy that was really ascending in again at training camp at Graham Park, and maybe was a little bit of ahead of schedule, more so than Jelani Woods at the time, which is really saying something considering the season that Woods had, especially late. So he's intriguing. You're bringing Mo Alley-Cox back. So we'll see what the Colts decide to do at that position. And then defensively, you had the whole news there with the Carter kid at Georgia and the legal situation that he ran into. That's going to affect the Colts at the top of the draft and their prospects of trading up to either number 3 or number 1. Do the Bears, how comfortable would the Bears feel trading back in order to get a top defensive player in this draft, or are they in a position where they're going to trade back to number 2 with the Texans, or trade back to number 4 with the Colts, and then trade back again, kind of have 2 bites of that same apple and still be able to get a blue chip player on their board. So really, really fascinating stuff at the Combine. And like I said, Combine is always that first week that tells you it's draft season, it's here. And we are 50 days away from the draft. So we're still 6 weeks out. So a lot of conjecture, a lot of things are going to change. You're going to hear a lot of rumors at pro days, a lot of rumors that come out of the top 30 visits. So it's a fun time of the year. But I'm ready to hit the fast forward button, get this done, get it over with. In the speculation, stop talking about the quarterback. Stop talking about all the what ifs. Let's get a guy in here. Let's see what happens, and let's start building.
Let's get it on. Oh, my friend Matt Taylor, I hope you have a great rest of your week and a great weekend, man. You're going to be watching some NCAA, filling out the NCAA tournament pools.
Yeah, we will be having some fun, man. Like I said, we're going to have multiple screens working this weekend, and NFL free agency basically starts on Monday, and so we'll be called back into duty, on things that affect the Colts. We'll see how active the Colts are, but yes, next week is a lot of screen time, unfortunately, between hoops and off-season moves in the NFL. So going to have to watch my screen time, make sure I'm present and accounted for when you turn those things off. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of inside time next week, unfortunately. Maybe get some fresh air next weekend.
Looking forward to it, brother. Appreciate you so much.
All right, guys, be well. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Matthew Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts, the voice of the Colts. Matt Taylor, of course, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Brought to you by our good friends from Go Team. For those on the go, whether it's you, your kids, the team, it's hard to find a fresh, healthy, tasty snack on the go. Go Team has all that and more, full of protein powder. You can pick them up at BB's Market or get them at GoTeamBites.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's the deal. I wish. Too bad we're not on. I know we're just off of being on live and up there in the Chicago area, but I wish we were on. That way we could chat it up with them now, but
True. I'll be right back, gentlemen.
Here's the funny thing, and I'll talk about this on air. People act like, what is this restaurant? I ain't got time to go to any damn restaurants. It's funny. I'm like, I'm thinking back last year in Portland. The restaurant we went to eat at was across the street. It was just some sports dive bar. But yeah, now Saturday. What is the schedule for Saturday? All right. Oh, come on. Where's this stupid? There we go. Nope. Of course. Just give me a bracket, dude.
We got more food suggestions in Chicago. Gino's Pizza.
Yeah, but here's what I keep talking about. I can't wait. I was saying, I'm like, you're all talking about all these restaurants, and I'm like, how do you have time to go to these damn restaurants? I'm like, I just told you it's 1 a.m. by the time I get out of there on a lot of nights.
But if there was a Whataburger, you'd be there.
Well, exactly.
Well, because I'd find it for lunch.
Well, you're at the games at lunch.
Well, there's a break in between.
Well, that's true. But, it's got to be a pain in the ass for media to get in and out of that.
Exactly. Where the hell are you going? That's another thing. You think I'm leaving the United Center in Chicago to go someplace? I don't want to get shot. I don't want to get shot.
Well, not only, the United Center is near nothing. Like, there's nothing out there.
Yes.
So it's not like Indianapolis where you can go right across the street to Champs or the Irish place or something like that, to get a quick bite.
That's another thing.
It's a huge pain.
Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast, Market, and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, March 9. Jim Coyle with you as always. Dustin Schutte as well. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, high atop the 18th fairway. By our good friend Cheryl Sizemore, if you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area. Cheryl Sizemore is the one that can get you taken care of. No one can get you in a home quicker or less expensive. You need her two decades of experience there. Reach out to her at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com. You guys are talking about all these restaurants in Chicago. Now, Michael, I think, yes, did point out, thank goodness, I appreciate that there will be some time Saturday night since the semifinals start at noon. So that means, all right, that one's going to get done at 2:30. The next game starts probably 2:45. We'll go with 3 just to say, and that one gets over at 5. We're out of there at 6:30.
You got the night is young.
But if Indiana is not playing, I don't think I'm going to stay for the Big Ten championship.
That's true. That's true. You just head right on home.
I'm coming back, although it sucks to give up a hotel room, free hotel room, but
yeah, you might. Well, we should think about this. Now, a whole night in Chicago.
See, that's another thing people don't understand. Booking travel for media it's not just a pain. It's extraordinarily expensive because you do not know where. I have no clue where Indiana is going to be next weekend.
Right.
Therefore, I cannot. If it requires airfare, now you're really screwed because you've got no advance time. You have to. And it killed us last year when they got sent to Portland. It was murder.
I remember you joining the show via airport and discussing about the idea.
Well, that happens all the time. Now that can happen again just because of travel.
I remember we had a very lengthy discussion, John and I did, about a text message you sent about potentially doing the show from the airplane. And I thought it was a terrible idea, but I kind of wanted to see it because I thought somebody might punch you in the face if you tried to do the show from the airplane.
Now thinking about it, we would have to have some kind of John would have to be able to really amplify my voice to the point where I could almost have to whisper and it sound like I was talking. Because I don't think that they're going to want to listen to me.
No. I don't think they want to listen to anybody
talking at a level that I usually talk at, especially. I get yelled at enough for telling me that stop yelling. I'm like, I'm not yelling. I'm just talking. But Michael, Purdue fan.
If Purdue wins Saturday. Oh, there you go.
Well, Dustin won't be there regardless, Michael, but I'll watch it on TV. I might see them in the tournament, but I've got to. You don't understand, brother. I've got to turn around and figure out where I'm headed to that night. So, sleeping in your own bed is a premium. Comes at a premium this time of year.
Well, it depends on what hotel. It depends on what hotel you're at because
Here's what I can probably tell you where I will, if Indiana is still in it, and maybe if they're not. Since Purdue is, Bob Kravitz will be there. I will relish the opportunity to. He's a big blues guy, so that's probably where I will be. To be honest with you,
they do have the House of Blues there in Chicago.
Well, I'm well aware of that. Chicago is known for its blues.
Are you sure? Are you sure? I thought I should enunciate that for the audience in case nobody knew.
Hey, I've heard they have barbecue in Memphis. Is that true?
Shut up. Hey, you know what? I used to work at House of Blues, so there's that. But I worked there in Orlando.
But hey, speaking of our friends up WJOB, listen to us at the voice of the region up there, 12:30 a.m. and 104.7 FM. Everybody up that way. I think Chicago might be the second biggest city of IU alumni in the country, in the world for that matter, I guess, outside of Indianapolis.
That's interesting. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Where else would you, where else would be a second guess?
I don't know that I have one. I mean, New York would be it just because of its size.
Oh, no.
Chicago,
because of Chicago's proximity and how many people come to IU because of that.
Yes, I understand that. I think you're right. I'm just saying if I had to get
Chicago's not exactly small. It has like over 3 to 4 million people.
I know, but I'm just saying if somebody said if it's not Chicago, where would it be? My guess would be New York. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I guess that would be a good guess. I'm not going to.
Thank you. Well, that would be a good question, though. Do you think Chicago has more than Indianapolis because of the size?
I said number 2. That's why
I know you did, but I'm curious now. Now I want to find the statistics on this.
It is. That is a good question, though. Sean Kemp arrested for drive-by shooting. Claims self-defense. You didn't see that?
I did not see that. That's ugly.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm trying to get the bracket pulled up, and for some stupid reason, I cannot find the daggone Big Ten
tournament bracket.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Just give me the bracket. And everyone that I'm clicking on is not it.
Well, what are you looking for specifically?
Oh, just to
today's games.
Yeah, just to talk about it, talk it out.
Rutgers, Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, Penn State, and then the second session, Penn State, Illinois, Minnesota, Maryland. I think Penn State, Illinois is going to be the game of the day, to be quite honest.
Who is?
Penn State, Illinois.
Minnesota, Maryland shouldn't be a big game. What about Ohio State, Iowa?
Maybe.
Yeah. Ohio State and Iowa, the early game, of course, Rutgers and Michigan.
That's going to be a rock fight. Ohio State, Iowa. Ohio State has won 3 of their last 4 games.
Does Rutgers have to win to make the tournament?
That's a good question.
They've been on the skids. They've been on the skids, man.
They are 18-13. They had some good wins early in the season, but they've lost to Northwestern, Minnesota.
Hey, John, before I forget, the Jim Boeheim, didn't he have a whiny clip or something I sent to you?
You sent me something from Matt Painter, not Jim Boeheim.
Oh, okay. Matt Painter. Let's run that. This is Matt Painter.
I have the audio, but not the video. You want me to go ahead and run that right now?
Yeah. That's fine.
Do we want to set it up, or because I don't know?
This is Matt Painter talking about only one player from Purdue's team received any honor, Big Ten honors, and he's like, "Well, I'll let you listen to it."
We got what we came for. Yeah, so that's fine. If they want to vote that way, they can vote that way. But everybody in our league and every player would trade positions to be where we are. So that wasn't our goal. Our goal this year wasn't to be all conference or coach of the year. Our goal was to win the Big Ten, and we did it. And we did it by 3 games. If people out there that vote don't value winning, it just shows you they don't know much about basketball. But I do my voting, and unless it's extreme, when it gets to the end for me, it's winning versus losing. If you want to put somebody on an all-conference team, that lost more than somebody that wins, he better be considerably better than him. Because if it's close and the way I vote, I go with the guy that wins. I always that's what you play for. You don't play for awards. You play to win and the satisfaction of winning. and you shouldn't get off that. So, like I said earlier, we got what we came for. We came to get up the 25th Big Ten championship, and we got what.
That was it. Just started playing.
Basically, what he is, the question to him was, hey, notice all these all Big Ten teams and yada yada. Zach Edey's the only name you're going to see. No sixth man, no second team, no other second team, no third team players, because there aren't. Purdue got, I'm telling you, Purdue got, and that's great coach speak by Matt Painter. But Purdue played the bottom half of the schedule, first of all. They got very lucky. They beat Nebraska in double overtime. They beat Ohio State on the last second shot. They're lucky to win and Indiana screwed themselves for one thing. I can't talk about other teams. I'm not covering them, but I'm sure that they have many games are like, we gave that one away, just like Indiana gave the Iowa game away, and we could talk about others, but Purdue's not that good of a team. Now they could be dangerous as hell next year. That's why you've heard Bob Kravitz say he doesn't expect that they're going to go as far as Indiana because of these freshman guards. But they're not going to be freshmen next year. Zach Edey's back. Purdue could be good next year.
Could be good. They're not good this year.
No, well, I mean good. When I say good, I mean I'm talking badass good. Because look at, at times there were flashes this year that you saw what potential. Because again, the guards are freshmen. They got freshmanized, man. People got up in their face and said, hey, this is welcome to the big boy leagues, but they didn't do it soon enough. And so, but it also didn't mean a lot anymore because talent comes and goes so quickly.
What do you mean? Wait. What doesn't mean much anymore?
These all Big Ten lists. As far as future, but as far as the here and the now, it matters because if you don't have anybody, if you don't have more than one person on this list in the here and the now, you're not going to win in the here and the now. That's why Bob Kravitz, and I believe it as well, they're not going to go very far in the NCAA tournament. And so I'm not talking about next year, I'm talking about the here and the now. And that's what these teams show. Here's what you have right now. And they don't have deep talent right now. So I don't think they're going to go very deep because of that.
I don't know how to address this because I disagree. I think this is going to sound dumb because Indiana beat them twice. Indiana has Purdue figured out. So let me preface this by saying that. Like, Indiana has got the recipe to beat Purdue. There's no question about that.
Beat them at home.
Beat them. They beat them twice. They swept them. They get to carry the broomstick all across the state.
Beat them 3 out of the last 4 times.
That's also true. So, but when you say that they're not deep enough, they are deeper than Indiana is right now. Like, they have more guys that can come in off the bench and contribute.
I didn't say they weren't deep enough. What I said was they don't have the talent now to make a deep run. They do not have they don't have the, well, okay, you can use the word. By deep, I don't mean numbers. I mean good. They don't have the quality of talent to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament today in 2023. And that's what all Big Ten shows. When you don't have a single other person on there, buddy, you're not going to – this is not who's – this is –
I would say I think Indiana has the more talented roster. Purdue's got a more consistently deep roster, if that makes sense.
Well, this has nothing to do with Indiana. I'm not even comparing. I'm just saying.
But this is the point as to why I think I agree with you and Bob Kravitz that I think Indiana has a better chance to make a deeper run because I think their talent is top heavy. They just don't have the depth. Like if Purdue can make a run, it's because they have more consistent depth.
I wouldn't call them talent.
Anyway, we got to take a break. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com will join us now. We'll include him in on the conversation and see what else he's got for us as well. Hey, don't forget, if you're down in the Louisville, Southern Indiana, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott County areas, all down through there, Barbara Pop Real Estate Services has served those communities for 3 decades. No one can get you into the new home you want or need quicker than Barbara Pop. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or our friend Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Back with Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
Howdy.
A little different setup, Kyler.
Hello, I'm not in my car. I am not in my car. I've got I got Kobe in the back. He's ready to go. So
looking good.
Yeah. I will say this.
Wearing the blue Lakers jersey even?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
Didn't even recognize it. I'm all Lake Show, baby. I'm all on Lake Show.
It's a lake show. I like that. A lake show.
I will say there's some crazy stuff going on at work. If a call pops up, I may have to drop out. So
hey, do you know why those colors are why they are?
I'm gonna guess it's from the Minneapolis, like kind of like a Lake-ish color. So I'd say like the Minneapolis Lakers. I don't know that.
I wonder if that was their original colors. I don't know.
Probably
it was. This was like Jerry West and everything. So
Jerry West played in law. No, he didn't.
He played in LA a little bit.
Yeah,
towards the end of his career.
Towards the end.
Yeah. I obviously was not alive. Just
many.
Wikipedia told me.
I wonder how many people know why they're called the Lakers.
Oh, I think only true Lakers fans know. Any Lakers fans out in LA have no idea.
Well, the younger people, no idea.
Like my age, yeah. I mean, like I said, I feel like you got to be a true Lakers fan to really realize that.
Of course, that's why. That's like, why they call them the Utah Jazz?
They came from New Orleans, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. It's a basketball trivia show today. Let's not even talk about the Big Ten tournament. Let's just talk about basketball trivia.
There you go. I like it. Did you know it's not like Boston has been mispronouncing their mascot's name for decades?
What is Celtic?
The Celtics. It's Celtic is how you properly pronounce that. Ooh. I don't know why we softened the C on that.
Well, that seems like a Boston thing.
It feels like a very American thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Now to think about it, because it is the Celtic, because you hear people use the word Celtic. It's a Celtic. That comes from the Celtic culture. That's my culture. I'm Irish. So there's that.
There's not a whole lot of green in my house. Let's just say that.
So there's oh man. Hey, so you can oh man. Should have you come back on after Chris Denari.
I might be able to if you want me to.
Well, yeah, because we're just going to be talking about the tournament.
What time?
10:10.
10:10. Okay. Right, yeah, I'll let you know. Like I said, there's
meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by BB's Market in Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Thursday, March 9. It is basketball tournament time. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com joins us. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. It is, conference tournaments are getting started. I really love this week of the season. I like to picture it as kind of like a appetizer for the NCAA tournament. So got a lot of basketball going on. It's about to be really, really fun.
It's already underway for every conference is underway now. Is that right? Ohio State at Iowa today at 2. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
The Big Ten. Is that the first game of the day in the Big Ten?
Michigan Rutgers is the first game.
I don't know why this stupid thing doesn't have it.
Very important first game today. I will say that with Michigan and Rutgers.
Okay, so we were talking about this.
There it is. Yeah. Noon. Starting at noon on the BTN, as Dave would say. For you kids, it's on the BTN. But yeah, and why is that game so important, Kyler?
I mean, so you look at those. I mean, they're probably the two bubble teams. You know, you can throw Penn State in there as well from the Big Ten. And of course, they play each other. So you kind of look at it as a loser goes home type of thing, literally.
But is Michigan even still a bubble team, man? They've been a bubble team for so long that
the conversations I've been having with people is I like to compare them to Indiana last year. I think they're the Indiana this year. I think they come in, they got to win a few games. They really improved towards the end of the Big Ten season, which was the opposite of what Indiana did last year. But nonetheless, like you go into the Big Ten tournament, they have to win a few games. They obviously have to win this game versus Rutgers. They probably have to knock out Purdue to feel safely in the Big Ten or the NCAA tournament. But I'd like to compare them to Indiana last year. I think they're fighting desperately, and I think they are the most desperate team in the Big Ten tournament this year.
You don't think Rutgers fits that? Like, I feel like both teams you could probably put in that category because Rutgers is 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think you say Rutgers is safely in, and now they've lost to Minnesota, they lost to Northwestern, they lost to Michigan. They won one of their last 4 games. So if they lose this, and I know we don't look at as much as the what have you done for me lately with the net and RPI and all that jazz with the NCAA tournament, but I don't know. I feel like the winner might get in, and then the loser is going to the NIT.
It could be. I see Rutgers as the team. If they lose, I think they're just going to be sweating on Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
Because they have had some good wins, but like you said, they have went 1-4 the last 5 games and everything. But they'll definitely be sweating. I can see Rutgers even if they lose. I see them squeaking into maybe a first 4 game somewhere around there. But I think if Michigan were to lose, I think they're out. I mean, you just can't, what is it? They have 17 wins on the season, something like that. You just can't get into the NCAA tournament with that kind of record. But it'll be interesting. I mean, I like that we have this game to start off the day. It's going to be really good. It's going to be a dogfight. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And the bracket side that Indiana is on. A little upset there yesterday. Probably Hoosier fans would rather have seen Nebraska win that game just so Nebraska would have been playing Maryland to either beat them or wear them down a little bit more because Nebraska had been playing so well. But was Nebraska worn down from winning those, making that late season run?
Could have been. I mean, honestly, I look at it kind of the opposite way. I think Indiana fans are a little bit more happy that Minnesota won, just the way that Nebraska's been playing lately. We did a Big Ten bracket breakdown at thehoosier.com, and I kind of mentioned I think Nebraska was the one team this year that you didn't want to play in the Big Ten tournament. Obviously, I was wrong because Minnesota took care of that, and but Indiana, you look at their side of the bracket, they've I would say they've probably got a little favorable side. Pretty winnable route to at least win the first game and make it to Saturday. It's going to be tough if they do end up playing Maryland, which I think they will. I don't think Minnesota has enough, speed and enough talent to match up with Maryland. But Indiana's got to they've got a chance to have a little revenge game versus Maryland. You look back at last game, Maryland just kind of ate their defensive line. Jalen Hood-Schifino went 1 of 14 that game. I think it'll be a little bit of different result this time around. I think Indiana will be a little bit more prepared. Plus, you look at Maryland; they have not done great in a neutral site. They have not done great on the road this year. So they're probably the most questionable team, I would say, in the Big Ten because you really don't know what you're going to get from them. But either way, Indiana's got a very winnable, route to get to Saturday at least.
The thing is, Indiana has to come out playing defense like their hair's on fire. Right now, they can't come out with this comfortable stance because, in my mind, they have to win one game
in this Big Ten tournament to secure that 4 line. They're looking at the matrix, which is the combination of all of the I don't even know how many it is that maybe they consider some they shouldn't. I don't know, but it's pretty close. They're the second to last 4 seed right now on that, and a single loss might dip them below that. A win and a loss, they break even. They're not going anywhere, and they stay on that 4 line, which is I think where they want to be.
Yeah, I think right now they're pretty solid at the 4 line. I think a loss there, depending on what happens, I think they could drop to a 5. I would say probably 2 wins, winning on Friday, winning on Saturday, still keeps them at a 4 line. I think the only way that they would even have a shot at the 3 seed is if they win the entire Big Ten tournament, and that just depends on what everybody else does around them. But right now, I think you can safely say Indiana's around the 3 and 5 range. I don't think they'll drop down to a 6 or even below that. They definitely won't get higher than a 3, even if that's possible. So it's a good spot for Indiana. I think this is kind of where you would predict them to be at the beginning of the season. Despite all the injuries they've really battled through. A lot of adjustments have been made throughout the season, and the fact that they're still, a top 3 team in the Big Ten, with Xavier Johnson being out most of the season, Race Thompson being hurt, Jalen Hood-Schifino being hurt for a little bit, it's really impressive by this Indiana team, and it just shows that this team's, willing to fight, like Trace Jackson Davis has mentioned quite a few times in the past recent games.
If Indiana's going to make a run in both the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament, what is the number one factor to you? Because to me, they cannot get 4 points from their bench. But I don't see where they're going to get that other production from. So, is there something else that you think would be a bigger key this time of year? Because when you look at some of the production they're getting off of the bench, it's a little bit concerning when you head into a time when you're playing so many games in so many days.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors there. One, you can obviously say the defensive end. That's where Indiana's definitely going to, stay in games like they have done mostly for the entire season. They've really got to lock down on that end. They got to bring the intensity, and they got to be disciplined. You can't have Trey Galloway and Jalen Hood-Schifino, those 2 guys especially, get in foul trouble. That can be very dampering because you've got Tamar Bates come off the bench, and he's another factor, honestly, when you look at it. He's got to have solid production. He's got to be the number 1 guy off the bench. He's got to score. He showed a little bit towards the end of the Michigan game. He made some big shots, but he's got to step up in a major way if Indiana wants to succeed. And then obviously you look at the seniors. Trace Jackson Davis, he's going to get his. He's going to be the motor that's going to drive this ship or whatever. But Miller Kopp, Race Thompson, they got to play like seniors. They can't be taking any plays off. They've got to stay aggressive. They got to make the hustle plays. They've got to be seniors. They've got to lead this team. And then Jalen Hood-Schifino, hopefully, his shots can fall. That's another thing, like I mentioned, there's been games where he's kind of disappeared a little bit, that Maryland game, 1 of 14. But there's been games where he drops 35 at Purdue. So you just don't know. He is a freshman still. But I think there's multiple things you can look at. It's kind of a perfect storm in a way. But Indiana, for the most part, they just got to come out engaged. They got to throw the first punch, and they just got to stay engaged throughout the full 40 minutes of the contest.
Yeah, absolutely. And Indiana is going to have to slow down if it ends up being Northwestern that they end up playing. They've got to find a way to slow those guards down. That's been a problem for Indiana, well, since Xavier Johnson went down, because they don't have, that duo that they had. Nothing wrong with Trey Galloway. It's just that, hey, you can't expect him to shut down Boo Buie. That's not going to happen. But also Northwestern also does not have a Trace Jackson Davis. So Indiana they just have to play the defense that they've been playing, that they can play. It's when they don't do that, Iowa, for example, at home, just letting people run wild and letting them get on those runs. That's when Indiana gets into trouble.
Yeah, and they've got to be disciplined, like I mentioned. They got to avoid the foul troubles. Trey Galloway going down that Michigan game, it ended up, being fine. But at the same time, it was like, you got a starting guard in there, and you had to bring in Tamar Bates, who's just been very inconsistent this entire season. It's discipline at the end of the day. It's being aggressive, but not overly aggressive. It's communicating on defense. That's a big thing with them. You got the fast guards like Boo Booey and, the Maryland guards or whatever. They're likely to beat Jalen and Trey off the dribble. So, Trace Jackson Davis has got to be ready to, contest at the rim, Race Thompson and everything. Miller Kopp's got to be a solid perimeter defender like we've seen he can be throughout the season. So, it starts on the defensive end before anything. The offense will come for Indiana, but defensively, they've got to be locked down and they've got to be disciplined.
Here's a question that I feel like is going to potentially ruffle some feathers, but I'm going to get mixed reaction on this. How much stock do you put in Indiana's performance in the Big Ten tournament, and probably specifically the Maryland game? Because I just don't put a lot to gauge what they're going to do for the NCAA tournament, because I don't put a lot of stock into it. I mean, I just don't. It's just not as important to me, right? Because I think part of this plays in if Indiana had won their last 5 games, it probably doesn't matter. Nobody cares, right? But because they've gone win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, or however that worked out, I feel like there's probably you want to see them play well, like to get a win, and then whatever happens after that Maryland game just kind of happens. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I mean, that is a tough question, because if you're talking about how they play, versus Maryland or Minnesota, whoever they're going to play, depending on do they play good or bad? Do you think that'll translate into the NCAA tournament? That's a tough question for me. I kind of look at it from a team goal, standpoint. Mike Woodson, the team, has talked about winning a Big Ten championship. And if they're dead serious about winning this Big Ten tournament, then they will come out and play like they want to. They won't be looking towards the NCAA tournament. They're safe for the first time in 5 years. They don't have to worry about being on the bubble. They can't have that mental, mindset. They can't come out relaxed. They have to play like they're trying to win a championship. And like they've mentioned all year, Mike Woodson said he came back to win a Big Ten championship, to win the Big Ten tournament. Trace Jackson Davis even mentioned it, at the senior speech. They have to come out engaged. They have to show that they're taking this seriously. They're not looking ahead to the NCAA tournament.
But I wonder, where is your mindset? Because yes, you're playing in a tournament, the Big Ten tournament, and so you want to give your all and win, but it is not the most important thing, and it's not the most important thing on the immediate horizon, because the NCAA tournament is right on the heels, that's what matters most. It's not that this doesn't matter at all, but that's what matters most. That's where you can truly leave a mark. Now, winning a Big Ten tournament championship would absolutely leave a mark, because it's never happened in Indiana. But ever since, the days of Bob Knight, he hated the Big Ten tournament, voted against it for years, which with good reason. They're a waste of energy for these guys. We've got the greatest sports event in the world, to me, the men's NCAA basketball tournament. And I think it is, I think it would be so much better if we didn't have these college tournaments the weekend before. Especially the Big Ten, they just played a grueling 20-game schedule. The Big 12 just played, went through that grueling, beating the heck out of each other. So here's what was the idea I came up with?
The top 4 teams don't play in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
You came up with this idea?
Yes. Hey, if you want to, you're welcome to play in the Big Ten tournament, but the top 4 teams just don't have to do it. Yeah. They're already in the NCAA tournament, and we're going to rest. Because, but see, this is just a money grab for everybody, and that's what it's about.
It's all about nothing other than that. And I think that would be an absolutely great idea that only the top. Now, you couldn't do that for every conference. And then it goes, well, how you decide who you can do it for and who you can't. Well, you can pretty much do it for all the P5 conferences. Even as bad as the ACC is this year, you could still do it for the ACC this year. It still works.
Or what they could do.
You're already caveating my great idea.
No, I'm not caveating it. I'm just saying.
Kidding.
I think the easiest solution would be if they just did it like they do either the women's tournament or they do it like they do some of these mid majors. Just move it. Give you a 2 week separation. I feel like that way everybody gets the same amount of rest. They're not going to do that because the money is there. They get a lot of opportunity to air the ASUN, the Horizon, the MAC, all that stuff the week before. I don't even know when these tournaments are, and then they have the major tournaments the week before. I just would like to see it on a level playing field where they're all playing at the same time. Never going to happen, but that would be a better solution.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the conference tournaments are for the teams that, are on the bubble, that want to, boost their seed. The top 4 teams in the Big Ten, top 5, really, you look at them, they obviously winning a Big Ten tournament championship would be great for them, especially for Indiana. But at the end of the day, NCAA tournament is what really matters, where they're going to be seated and everything like that. This tournament's really built for the teams like Michigan, Penn State, and Rutgers, trying to boost their stock and trying to get into the big dance. So, but overall, Indiana's got to come out, ready to play. If they're serious about winning the Big Ten tournament, it's time to really show it, starting tomorrow night.
Absolutely. We're going to let him go for now, but I think that we'll possibly get him back later. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you give him a follow and keep up with everything that's going on at thehoosier.com. Appreciate you, brother.
Yep. You want me back at 10:10? Is that one?
Yeah, that next segment would be great.
Okay, cool. See you guys.
We'll talk to you then. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. We've got lots more Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming up. Chris Denari will be joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our friends at Metalworks Brewing Company. You can find Metalworks that's served at all of the great restaurants in and around the Bloomington area under the Endeavor window, like Southern Stone. Or you can go right to the source, located right off of 6th Street, right off the square. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a home...
What's up, guys?
Hey!
When you heading to Chicago, Jim?
As soon as the show's over. Okay. As soon as I get out of the shower,
we don't need to know.
He's giving us TMI.
As soon as my hair dries.
I have a very specific question I have to ask Chris once we get back.
Okay.
Hey, what side of town do you live on?
North. I live in Carmel. Lived in Carmel for 33 years.
Are you going to be home all day?
Yeah, I should be home all day. We've got a game tonight. My wife is cutting hair and my grandson's coming over, but I'll be here. I should be here.
What?
What do you got?
He just leaves it a mystery.
Oh yeah, I'm always thinking out loud. Well, I may, if I have time, make a delivery.
Oh no, don't kill yourself.
No, I'm not. I'm just, it works out.
He's telling you he doesn't want you over at his house. That's what he's saying.
No, you can come over.
He doesn't have a choice. He doesn't know this, but I sneak in and out of the she shed. I live in there sometimes.
I'll tell you, when my wife is done cutting hair, I should turn it into an Airbnb.
There you go.
I hope the workers with Levy are not on strike anymore for the Big Ten tournament. The concession workers, when we played there on Sunday, they were striking.
Oh,
So only half of the concession stands were open.
oh man!
Can you imagine the amount of money they're losing? I mean,
where was that?
United Center,
where the Big Ten tournament is.
Oh man! And I guarantee you that they probably can't go out and get anyone to come in because of the contractor. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, so when we got there, they were picketing outside, and then there was no food in the media room, so they ordered Giordano's pizza.
Oh wow!
And then we had some people that said, they just the lines were really long, and they only had limited menu. So hopefully they got it.
Come take.
Here we go, guys.
Hops is Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, March 9, brought to you by our friends down in Bedford at Courtroom Sports Grill. Great place to catch a game during the tournament, especially. Take the family for dinner or just meet friends for after work. Great Cajun cuisine. Joined now by Chris Denari from the Indiana Pacers. And he brought just bad news. He just returned from the United Center where I'm heading immediately after the show. The workers are on strike, you're telling me, and there's no food in the media room.
They were on strike. I don't know. There were games yesterday at the United Center, so I don't know this, but I'm sure they were doing it to get the attention of people that, yes, the Big Ten tournament's coming to town. But when we were there on Sunday, there was no food in the media room. They ordered Giordano's pizza, which, is excellent. But we had there were a lot of Pacers fans in the building, and they just said that the lines were long and they had a limited menu. So hopefully, I haven't read anything the last couple of days, but hopefully in gear for the Big Ten tournament. But you'll let us, Jim. You'll let us know.
Now, on this pizza situation, was there any thin crust, or is this an all thick crust kind of a deal?
It's a good question. I just saw the thick crust. I'm not saying they didn't have thick crust.
As I suspected.
But remember, it's Chicago. Chicago pizza is pretty thick.
Exactly.
I know. That's what my fear is. That's my greatest fear. Now I'm going to have to, gee whiz, just go to McDonald's or something.
Well, no, I'm glad I let you know. You told Dustin and I that you're going to leave immediately after the show. So just pack yourself some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and put them in your backpack, and you'll be good to go.
Going by BB's, baby, and have them make me up some sandwiches.
That'll work too. We've got all the important questions to ask Chris, because this has been on my mind since the start of the week. Did you get to meet Will Ferrell?
I would say yes and no. I was there and around him. It wasn't like I just introduced myself and blah, blah, but I was there and around. We had a pretty big Monday. We had 50 Cent in the building, and we had Will Ferrell and Reggie Wayne from the Colts. Will Ferrell is shooting a documentary on life on the road from New York to L.A., and he reached out to the Pacers about stopping in Indianapolis and coming to the game. So it was a pretty cool night.
That seems like the different type of person for doing a documentary on Will Ferrell. On the NBA.
Well, it's just one stop. He's stopping at different locations. Like they were somewhere in Beech Grove at a Walmart, I think. And, he may be in Omaha, Nebraska. He may be in Champaign, Illinois. I don't know. So it just so happened this was the only, from what I was told, it's the only sports venue in this trip from New York to LA that he was going to visit and stop. So they put him in the car. They do a thing where they have it roll an Indy car out before the game and they rev it up. And he did that. He revved up the fans on the microphone before tip off. They gave him the mic before the fourth quarter. So
that's a little dangerous.
It could be dangerous, but it was an interesting night. And then, it was a fantastic game. It was a lot of offense, 147, 143. Pacers, the last two home games have lost, but they played very well against two of the best teams in the league, Boston and Philly. And I'm telling you what, Joel Embiid is a beast. I mean, he had 42. He was 19 of 19 at the free throw line. The guy is 7'2" and has one of the softest touches you'll ever see. And then the next night, in the second out of back-to-back, he goes to Minnesota. Rudy Gobert is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and Embiid goes for 39 in 28 minutes. So this guy's playing MVP-style basketball, averaging 33 points per game, and the Pacers have to see him one more time. We see him a week today at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Yeah, and tonight, Chris, the Pacers play Houston, and on paper, obviously Houston's not one of the better teams in the league. They're towards the bottom, 15-50. They enter this game, but just about a week ago, we saw the Pacers go into San Antonio, and what looked like it should be a victory for this team, especially the way they were playing. Kind of laid an egg. It's been about the only one that they've not really played well, even in some of the losses, like you mentioned, to Philadelphia and Boston. Is it all about mindset heading into this one, or is there something else you're looking for as when the Pacers host Houston after coming back from a bit of a road trip?
Yeah, I think, respect. I mean, they're a very athletic team. It's ironic after the Pacers lost to San Antonio, Houston then beat San Antonio twice. This is a team, I just made a note. In the last 2 years, they have 7 first-round picks on the roster. They have 3 from 2022 and 4 from last year. So those are 7 guys that they're building. They've got some really good young players. Again, they're looking to the draft. They're looking to this year. Could they get it, Wembayana, those types of things. But it's a very athletic team. They beat the Pacers in the preseason at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and the Pacers won back in November at Toyota Center. But it's a really athletic team. They're dead last in points, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage. But the one thing they do is they pound the glass. They're the best rebounding team in the NBA. I think all of us know that's been one of the Pacers' weaknesses is the glass. So that'll be something to watch. But I think, in my opinion, I think that San Antonio game got the Pacers' attention. You look at that road trip, they were 3-1, and they lost to the so-called worst team on that trip. They had a terrific win on Sunday at the United. Beating even though Chicago was under 500, Chicago just won at Denver last night by 20+. And Tyrese Halliburton hit that big 3-point shot on Sunday. It was a great environment. It felt like a playoff game. Somebody told me we had a big season ticket holder party at Gainbridge Fieldhouse last night. And one of the fans said, I was watching that game on television and it felt like May. It felt like a playoff game. And I said, well, even though it's not, that's what the Pacers are trying to experience with these young players. Atmospheres like that, games that are clutch, that come down to the final minutes. That's what the Pacers are doing right now, and that's only going to help them for the future.
Well, and that actually gets to my next question, Chris, is I think coming into this season, everybody talked about a rebuilding year. Nobody really expected them to get to the playoffs, and a top 6 spot is probably out of the question. But at the same time, they're only 2 games back of that 10 seed. And I think whether or not they get into the play-in series, the fact that they're playing meaningful basketball at this stage in the season, like I said, whether they get one of the top, the 7 through 10 or not, just having that experience and going through that process, I feel like is a great experience for this young roster.
Yeah, and the bottom line is you also look into it, with Cleveland's first-round pick, Boston's first-round pick, and their own first-round pick. The Pacers go into this year's draft, which I think they feel is pretty deep, even into the 20s, with 3 first-round picks. And so that's another way that you can add to your roster. But I think you're right, Dustin. No matter what happens on April the 9th, these guys are playing games because they want to experience the playoffs. I mean, I've said this, that in my 5th year, my first 4 years, the Pacers never made the playoffs. The 5th year, they snuck in as the 8th seed and got beaten 5 by Chicago. But that set the table for the next 3 years because then they went to the Eastern Conference semis and then back-to-back years to the Eastern Conference finals. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do that in the next 4 years to guarantee that. But I do think that trip to the playoffs, even though many people thought they had no chance against the Bulls, it gave meaningful playoff experience to those players. And that's what Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield and Miles, that's what they all want. They want that opportunity to play in the postseason because if you look at the roster, I mean, Daniel Tice has played in the playoffs. He was on Boston last year when they went to the finals. Miles Turner has been in the playoffs. Neesmith was at Boston. But up and down the roster, the guys that are playing meaningful minutes, they've not played in the postseason. That's why players like George Hill and James Johnson on the roster are invaluable. Even though they don't play very much, they can help these players understand what it's like to get to that point.
I know you can't predict draft status because we don't know, first of all, where they're going to end up. But Jalen Hutchefino is kind of is slowly working his way up the draft board and into a potential first-round pick. Again,
I think
we always talk.
Jim, I think he could potentially be a lottery pick. I mean, I really do. I mean,
well, and then there's the potential. Is there a potential of him landing in Indianapolis?
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, the one thing he has is he has a really good, he's physical. What is he, 6'6", 6'5", 6'6"? The other guy that I'm intrigued by, and boy, he's had a great year and a great career, is Trish Jackson Davis. I mean, even though he doesn't shoot the ball from the outside, and so many of the wings do it, I asked somebody the other day, I said, could he be like Brandon Clark, who played at Gonzaga, now at Memphis? Now, fortunately, Clark tore his Achilles out for a while. Brandon Clark is a guy that at Memphis, they use around the basket. He's catching in the lane. He's got the short little hook. He's got the flip shot, and he's highly effective. And I've been really impressed by Trace all year long. A year ago, I thought, how does he fit in the NBA? The more I've watched him and the toughness that he has and his grit and the determination, I think I think he can play in the NBA. Now, where that fit is, who knows? I mean, that's, for all the scouts and front offices to determine. But clearly, when you're IU, one of the reasons you've had this great success is you've got two high-level players like that. They always say that it takes high-level players and guys that are going to the NBA to take you to the next level. And that's why I think Indiana's got a real chance, not just in the Big Ten tournament, but of course in the NCAA tournament when it starts next week.
Buddy, I cannot wait. Looking forward to talking to you again next week. May see you later. You never know.
All right.
But I hope you have a great day, buddy, and thank you so much.
So do you want me to make some peanut butter and jelly for you to have? I can give them to you, and then you can drive up to Chicago.
No, thank you. I need to lose a few pounds anyway, so I can do without. But
all right.
I do thank you for the offer. That's very, very kind of you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Our great friend Chris Denari joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday. We've got more to come up. Finishing it out this day as the Big Ten tournament has begun. All the tournaments into that way, but more talk on tournament, who's doing what, who's going to be doing what. Back brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville and Evansville. Down in southern Indiana, off of I-65 in the Clarksville area, right on the Veterans Parkway. You can see all the American flags. And then in Evansville, right off of the Lloyd. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Chris's audio was bad.
I know I kept having to try to fix it, and it kept reverting back to being bad for whatever reason.
I was wondering if that was me or if that was
no. You do want Kyler, right? He just texted me asking to make sure you want him back on.
Yeah, if he can, that would be great. Because let's just talk about it. Let's talk about.
Just a heads up. If you want, because I know you'll want to clip him twice. Try to at least make this about something a little bit different, so I'm not just doing the same thing.
All right, we're just gonna talk about you.
Great.
I like it.
Which I'm not saying don't talk Big Ten tournament, but
remind him of the thing he said there right at the end.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, remind him.
What
the hell is that? Are you ringing a little
glass.
bell? You waiting for service?
That's what
we
you
got
be
a little.
doing.
You got a little man coming to you or something? He's ringing the bell.
My dog brings me snacks.
He wants snacks?
So do I.
Ba-dum-dum, ba-dum-dum, da-dum-dum. Da, na, na.
Ba-da-da-da-da.
Mana. Oh boy. There was something that Kyler mentioned that I wanted to bring up, but I can't remember what it was now.
Uno minuto, senor.
Ugh.
And Kyler says he'll be here shortly, so I don't know.
People want us to ask Kyler about Chris Ledlam from Harvard and Flory Badunga.
Oh, so you're gonna make this? Yeah, ask him some recruiting. That's how I can headline this segment if you want to.
It seems like a couple people want us to talk about that. I'll
headline this segment, by God.
That's right. Headline. Here he comes. The man, the myth, the Kyler.
For some reason, my camera's not working now.
Well, you've got it the wrong way.
Just rejoin if you need to.
Okay, yes. I'm going to try that.
All right, here we go.
Provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. On this Thursday, it's March 9th. Tournament week going on. This segment brought to you by K-Bello in Bloomington. Looking for something different for lunch or dinner? Visit K-Bello, located on the square in downtown Bloomington. Experience the taste and traditions of Southern Italy right here in Southern Indiana. For those of you that are traveling in and out around to IU games or whatever, stop by in Bloomington, hit up K-Bello, and you can also have the Metalworks Brewing Company. That's the hat. If you watch on, for those that watch on YouTube, the hat that I'm wearing, that's Dr. Hops from Metalworks Brewing Company. Pretty cool logo. I like it. Kyler Staley joining us.
I'm here. Faceless.
We told him that he broke a camera last time, so
all this Lakers stuff just completely destroyed my camera. They couldn't take it. They couldn't take the lake show.
Yeah, they're rolling. Where are they sitting at the NBA right now?
They won the other night. They're fighting right now for a play.
Nobody cares. No one cares.
That's 100% true. They're 9th in the West.
Okay, so I think they're in a play-in spot right now.
Let me ask you this: They're ninth in the West. Where are the Pacers now in the East?
12th.
Okay, so the Lakers are only 3 spots ahead of a team that is basically in a rebuilding.
Right.
Okay, I just want to get that clear.
Absolutely. The joys of being a Lakers fan.
First of all, let's talk. Oh, go ahead. Questions. What was Dustin? You had it.
So we've got people that want to know some stuff about the recruiting and the transfer portal, Kyler. So I'm going to ask 2 parts so I don't forget here. Some interest in potentially Chris Ledlam out of Harvard. He's averaging just under 19 points, 9 rebounds per game. And then an update on Kokomo's Flory Badunga.
Yeah, so I guess with the transfer portal, that's starting up. I think March 13th is when they officially can put their names in the transfer portal.
Which is odd because that is in the middle of the NCAA tournament.
Yes. Yeah. There probably will be a few teams that, that are playing. They're still playing in postseason stuff, whether that be the NIT or whatever. I can totally see them still putting their names in the portal right away. But yeah, Chris Ledlam, if that's how you pronounce his last name. Yeah. Averaging 18.8 points, 8.5 rebounds. He shot 47% this year. He's really the first, I guess, bigger name in the transfer portal. He's a 6'7", 225 pounds. I think he's a forward, if I can think correctly. Obviously didn't watch a lot of Harvard games this year. So, but yeah, he's kind of the first name. I think he was, I can't remember who recruited him when he first got, was in high school or whatever, but, he's kind of, the new guy, the top guy right now. And then switching over to Flory Badunga. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of things that have changed. He still, came to visit the Indiana games and everything, all unofficial, so none of them were official.
Let's just talk about the realities of Flory Badunga. Number one, he's a game changer. He is whoever lands him is going to get a player that probably starts as a freshman, and it's hard to predict, guys, but man, he sure looks like he's ready to go to that next level. Kyler, you've seen him a hell of a lot more than I have, but he sure has that motor. It's the motor along with everything else. But the reality of the situation is he has been involved with an AAU program, and the coach of that program has a brother who is an assistant coach at Cincinnati. It's not saying that that's some kind of package done deal, but you have that to worry about as far as the recruiting goes. Other than that, I think Indiana would probably be in a prime position, but not that they're not in a good position. But if it wasn't for that, they would probably be far and away the leader in his recruiting, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so obviously, when he first came in, Flory plays for Indiana Elite. He plays on the 2024 team along with Travis Perry and Riley Burgess, a couple of other Indiana recruits. And then, got some in-state guys there too. So Mark Adams, the guy that runs Indiana Elite, his son is actually the guy that's a part of the Cincinnati kind of staff there. He's not an assistant coach. I think he's some kind of assistant athletic director, something like that. So obviously, when Flory came in, that was kind of the story with his recruitment. But nobody really expected Flory to take off the way he did last summer.
He was unranked. He was unranked in most
hidden
rankings, and now he's number 2.
Yeah, he's basically hidden in Kokomo. He came into the season. He's playing in Kokomo, which they have from what I hear, they have a fantastic international school. That's where a lot of international kids come to, for their high school education when they come into the state. But anyway, Flory was hidden. And then in the summer, once he was playing on the Adidas circuit and everything with Indiana Elite, just kind of exploded. And then that's when it was just like, I don't know if, him being tied to a school is necessarily a thing anymore. Just because, he can go anywhere he wants. And like you said, he's a game changer. Indiana, I would say, sits in a slightly better spot than other schools that have recruited him, but not by very much, just by a hair. But you just don't know with his recruitment right now. It's still a mystery, and I don't know how much you're going to find out this summer either. Obviously, where he's leaning towards May. May kind of close in a little bit more once we talk to him and things like that. But he's been to Indiana multiple times. Like I said, they've been all unofficial visits, not official yet. From what I hear, him and Gabe Cupps get along pretty well now. I think Gabe's mentioned that he's kind of one of his closer friends. So, it just kind of is what it is right now.
Did they used to fight before, not get along? Kidding.
No.
Joking. But so we're talking about a kid that's a year from now anyway, who's going to be a one and done probably.
I would assume so, yeah.
I mean, the way his talent is developing, he's already number 2 a year away. Yeah, he's going to be a one and done. So next year, Indiana going to have to hit the transfer portal. But let's talk about how the impact of if Xavier Johnson is able to come back to play next year for Mike Woodson as his starting point guard. The importance of that I cannot stress to people, because that takes an unbelievable load off of Mike Woodson having to find a point guard that can run the team now. That's not Gabe Cupps. He's not going to come in. He's not Jalen Hood-Schifino. Nothing against Gabe Cupps, but he's not Jalen Hood-Schifino. Having Xavier, that's a guy that can score, get to the rim, facilitate, defend, and he is a veteran. And more importantly, he knows your offense. I mean, that's manna from heaven. Now they can focus their attention in a specific area in the portal and the wing, and they probably need another big man.
Yeah. But yeah, Xavier Johnson coming back, that's huge. Because I know a lot of people are like ready for Gabe Cupps to come in. And
now, he has to apply, and he has to get here's the deal. You're allowed to play 10 games for a medical hardship. He played in the 11th game. He played like 9 minutes. So that's what they're going to have to get around. And so we'll have to wait to see what that ends up being. But just wanted to throw that caveat in there. Sorry.
Yeah. So no, they're good. But anyway, Gabe Cupps, I know a lot of people, a lot of Indiana fans are ready for Gabe Cupps to come in right away, take over. They've seen him play in the high school level. I've seen him play multiple times. Gabe Cupps is a winner. He's a great, great player, but he's not a Jalen Hood-Schifino. He's not that college-ready guy.
It's like Purdue. It's like what Purdue is with Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And, those guys dealt with, but people kind of forget, Purdue dealt with transfer issues, players from last year transferring out. So Braden Smith was kind of thrown into the starting lineup. That was not the original plan with him. That they tried to hit the transfer portal too. They tried to get the guy that went to Miami that's escaping my head right now. Yeah. So, but anyway, Xavier Johnson coming back is huge just because you have your starting guard, you have your starting point guard. And not only that, Gabe Cupps will likely be running that second unit. You've got him going up against Xavier Johnson for a full year. That's only going to make him better. Gabe Cupps is going to be ready to take over, I think, the lead guard spot his sophomore year. But this next year, it's not ready. He's going to have a major transition into the college game. He's going to have to get bigger. He's going to add some size to him. But Gabe Cupps, I think he's going to be one of the better Hoosiers for years to come. So I like what they're doing. Obviously, the question is, what are they going to do with the bigs? I would expect maybe a couple transfers out. That's just my opinion. So I think that's going to be the big question mark. They're going to have to hit the transfer portal pretty hard. I haven't heard of anybody reclassifying from the 24 class, any bigs that Indiana could potentially go after to fill that void. But, other than Malik Renew, there's a lot of questions next year of what Indiana's going to do, what that front court's going to look like. So it's going to be a really interesting offseason when it comes to the transfer portal. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of different faces for Indiana, and some are not just by graduating. There's going to be a lot of spots to fill. I mean, we already know how many are leaving with Race, Trace, Miller Kopp. Let's see whom else by.
Those are the 3 scholarship players.
Okay, so those are 3 scholarship players that for sure will be gone. I would be surprised to see Logan Duncombe back. Personally,
It's a real possibility. I mean, obviously, this is just my opinion. I have no insider information with this, but Logan Duncombe and Jordan Geronimo, those are two very interesting guys to keep a lookout for, potential guys that transfer out. So,
and that's 5 spots to fill. Obviously, 2 of them are already filled, but that still leaves 3 that they can go to the portal and find a big and 2 wings. If they can do that, you've got Trey Calloway, you've got Xavier at the point.
And expect Caleb Banks and CJ Gunn to have some improvement this year too. I think they'll be set at guards. I think they'll be set at guards and wings. Maybe they can add another wing. You've also got Ja'Kai Newton coming in, who I think is going to be playing some heavy minutes for the Hoosiers, whether that be for the second unit.
Well, what is the most important, in your opinion? What is the most important out of those 3 open spots that I think will be there that they need to fill? What's the most importance, do you think?
I mean, I obviously think the answer is the front court situation. They're going to be thin. Even if Logan.
Well, you're going to have Xavier and Gabe Cupps.
Yeah,
you might have Xavier.
Yes. You got to keep saying that.
You got to plan on that. Just right now, let's plan on. I know, but in this, just for argument's sake, let's plan on Xavier being there, and you have Gabe Cupps behind him.
Yeah. And then you've got obviously Tamar Bates, Trey Galloway. And then you
need somebody else at the 2 besides Trey Galloway.
You could. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see Trey Galloway still starting next year alongside with
Xavier I expect that. I would expect that. I mean, there's no way he doesn't. He's too valuable. His leadership is too valuable. Absolutely. I just meant an additional, a backup.
And then
Gabe Cupps will be behind Xavier, but who's going to be behind Trey Galloway? You have to have another 2 out there.
And then that's when you look at CJ Gunn or Ja'Kai Newton. I mean, Ja'Kai Newton, he's steadily improved. When you look at all the rankings, the rival rankings, he's went up. Ever since the rivals rankings came out with his class. But people kind of forget about Ja'Kai a little bit. He's going to come in. He's going to play some big minutes. He's a big guard. He's almost college ready, I would say, just from size alone. But he's coming off an injury, and he's looked pretty good since he came off that injury. So he's going to be playing some important minutes for the Hoosiers. I don't know if he'll start, but I would assume he's going to be one of the first guys off the bench next year.
And I have to be honest with you, both Caleb Banks and CJ Gunn, I like them both. I like the ceiling for both of them. Caleb Banks, man, when he comes in, he does exactly what I hear what I've heard Mike Woodson talk about so many times when he says, you've got to make the most of your minutes. Well, he damn sure does. When he comes in, and this is a guy that can shoot the ball. He can shoot the 3. He's athletic. He's going to be a guy he's going to be a wing that can shoot the 3, that he can get to the rim, defend, rebound. He's going to be a valuable asset for Indiana.
Yeah, he is. Him and CJ both. I agree with you. I think their ceiling's very high. This year, just obviously they just weren't ready. Caleb Banks, he's been kind of forced to enter that rotation with Jordan Geronimo being injured, and a couple of different lineups where Indiana's got to kind of use Caleb's athleticism. He's a smaller 4 right now. They can use him at multiple spots. He fills in for Miller Kopp. So
the Big Ten tournament is getting underway. Well, it's already underway, but 4 games today. Make sure you check those out. The first one is Rutgers and Michigan. Then you've got the Buckeyes taking on the Hawkeyes. Then there's a break, and then you have Penn State at Illinois. And then after that, that's Indiana's bracket, the last of the day. Maryland taking on Minnesota. So we'll see who Indiana will play tomorrow with that game tonight. And I'll be coming to you from Chicago tomorrow, side of the Big Ten tournament. And we'll be back to do it all again. Dustin, look forward to it.
Yep. Safe travels up to Chicago.
I appreciate it. You never know. We may have Kyler back on again tomorrow. Tomorrow just may be a fly by the seat of our pants. So who knows? But most importantly, I have to thank Matt Taylor, of course, from the Colts, Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you're giving him a follow, keeping up with everything that's going on in the Big Ten tournament and beyond for the Hoosiers. Chris Denari from the Pacers as well. John, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here. Looking forward to being back here tomorrow to do it all again. And we may have some special shows over the weekend just because of everything that is going on. Charlie Miller, make sure you give him a follow. He is going to be probably doing a live cast on the Hoosier.com as well, or the live blog, so you can follow along with that. So we're going to have everything covered for you for Indiana basketball and women's. Don't forget the Indiana women will begin play next week. Looking forward to seeing that tournament draw on Sunday where the men end up, and of course hoping that Indiana, the women, draw that number 1 seed. We'll find out. But until then, until tomorrow, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.